Hey guys, so let's paint the background for our fireworks display. We're going to use watercolor paint. Some old watercolor paint because this isn't going to have to be neat. We're just going to paint it all kind of messy, solid, dark colors because it's the night sky. Later we'll come on top when it's dry with those oil pastels or chalk pastels and add the actual fireworks. So to do the painting, watercolor paint. Right here, when it's in the palette, it's not the kind of paint you are ready to use yet. It's too sticky. If you just put your brush in there, it's not going to be nice. It's going to be sticky, clumpy. It's not going to get on your brush how you want. So you're going to use water. It is called watercolor paint. So you have a little cup. And if your water gets too dirty, you can clean it out. This is still okay. So put your brush in there and it gets wet. And then you touch your wet brush to whatever color you want. So I'm going to use black for the night sky. Maybe some black and blue. So I've made a little puddle of water on top of the paint. Now that little puddle is mixing with the paint and making watercolor paint, and I can paint with it. So every time I paint, I get a little bit of water, I touch the paint, and then I paint with it. If it gets too dark, you can add more water. And if it gets too light, you can add more paint. Okay? So that's what we do. You can mix colors by washing off your brush. So I've washed my brush off. It's clean now. And then going into a new color. So now I've got some blue. And I can come in here, mix black and blue for my sky. We're going to go all the way to the edge. So you might get some on the table. See, that's okay. This is watercolor paint. So you just clean it right off. While your paint is wet, we can do something that adds a little bit of detail. You can sprinkle, like you're putting food, not a lot, just a little bit. You can sprinkle a little tiny bit of salt. It's going to add an effect to your painting. I'm going around. You can see it's curling my paper, that's okay. That means that the water is soaking into the paper. And that's what it's made to do. Notice I'm washing my brush off between each time because I don't want to really mix my black and my blue on the palette. That would mess up the paint for somebody else. Now, we want to wash the brush each time so the black and blue in the palette stay separate and they only mix on the paper. Gotta get all the way to the edges. It's okay if you get some on the table as long as you clean it up. See how where I've already got salt, I'm not painting again. I don't want to spread that salt around. I want to leave it to do its thing and see how it comes out. So I'm not messing with where I've already put salt. Just painting in the places that are still white. So when you're done, you can put your brush down on the table to dry. Don't leave your brush in a cup because if your brush is too heavy, the water cup could fall over. That would be a problem. And I'll sprinkle a little bit more salt. There we go. Now if I move this stuff out of the way so we can see the whole painting, you can see the salt's starting to do this effect. If you don't want to put salt, you don't have to, but this is the kind of effect it does where it sucks up the paint and makes dots and sprinkles, and I might use that later to think about where I want to put my fireworks because it looks kind of like sparks. Okay guys, we're going to wait for this to dry. Okay, my painting's all dry. And so we're ready to start adding the firework designs. You guys should have sketched lots of fireworks and planned out. Here I have chalk pastels that we can use, and oil pastels. So the chalk pastels are really soft. You have to be careful when you draw them and they'll smudge. So something you could do with chalk pastels would be like draw the line that comes up and then say the wind was blowing, so smudge it. So there's one rocket that shot up in the air. And then I could maybe use oil pastels to draw the actual explosion. Remember, just one is boring, so we use more than one color. you could mix in some chalk pastels, but make sure you don't get them mixed up. If you mix up chalk pastels and oil pastels, you'll get a real mess, because one's really soft, chalk pastels are really soft, and one's really sticky. Pastels are really sticky. And maybe some sparks. Bam! One firework. I think you'll get the idea. You're going to try to fill up your page with interesting fireworks. Cool thing about these chalks is that they smudge. But the problem too is that they smudge. So if you don't want them to smudge, you're going to use an oil pastel. The oil pastels do smudge, but not in the same way. So these really smear. They just like smear. Even if you didn't want them to, they would still smear if you just put your hand on it. Oil pastels, they smear, but only if you're really trying to smudge them. And it explodes all ziggy-zaggy. Okay. And then I think when you finish, you've got it all painted. I would do some more, obviously, and fill it up. And when you finished adding your fireworks all across it, I'm going to let y'all use some metallic paint, just a little, to share at your table, and go on top to add just a little bit of shiny sparkiness. You don't want to go all over. You don't want to go crazy with it. But you can add some sparks. Alright. So that's the idea. We're going to make fireworks on our painted background using mixed media, chalk pastels, oil pastels, and paint. Okay guys.